It's time to lace up your gloves and get in the ring with Rocky Balboa and Clubber Lang as we try to go the distance with Rocky 3. Stay with us. Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. We've got a rough and tumble and rowdy crew here today that is ready to, talk about pugilistic. Sean, how's that for a $50 word?
I thought that was great. I'll give you $50.
Pugilistic. That's a big one. That's a big one.
Where did you pull that one from?
From parts unknown. We'll leave it there. Parts unknown.
Anthony Bourdain.
So, yes, welcome one and all to the 3324 podcast. Thanks for joining us each week as we take an excursion through the minds of Eric and myself, the twisted world of music and movies that we inhabit. And hopefully you enjoy taking the journey with us. You can find us on social media at 3324 podcast. That's on Instagram and Facebook. Eric, we've got another batch of guests here today. I like pulling these three together. It's almost like a reverse Three's Company.
lot of
we've
fun.
got in the Jack Tripper role, we've got Christy Cuomo.
Okay. Yeah.
Welcome aboard. In the Janet Wood role, we've got Sean Grady.
I guess I'll take it. She was that. Thank you.
So that makes Jerry Suzanne Summer.
Which blonde?
Chrissy Snow and portraying Chrissy Snow for this episode is Jerry Sullivan making his return appearance.
Greetings.
I guess you need to
My
dye your
friends
hair
used
blonde.
to say I look like Mr. Furley.
Yeah.
So I'd rather take
That would make
Snow.
you and Eric the Ropers. Is that what you're
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yes, we would be I would be Larry.
Oh, you're Larry? Okay.
Oh,
Larry.
Larry was great. You wouldn't be. You're definitely not Larry.
Eric's the bartender at the Regal Beagle.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
I'll take it.
We're one of those guests like Robert Mandan and Jeffrey Tambor, like all those rolling guests that would come in, that would kind of always
Or the guy
be like the boyfriend or the guy swinging into town. So
Yep.
Anyway. So we've got Christy Cuomo here. We've got Sean Grady. We've got Jerry Sullivan. So thank you guys,
Welcome,
and gal,
guys.
all for joining us.
Thank you.
We're talking about Rocky 3.
Yeah.
And this was Sean's pick. I sent Sean a list. I said, hey, Sean, why don't you choose one? And, he sent back a list of luminary films. And I thought, you know what? Rocky 3 was on my list anyway. And I think that was, we've been wanting to get to that one. So I think it's kind of, and it keeps in our obsession with 80s films, specifically like 81 and 82 events that music and movies from that 2-year span seem to really be something special. So we're going to be talking about that. So let's get to the stats and then we'll start the fun and games. So this was released in May of 1982, written and directed by Sylvester Stallone, $17 million budget and a $270 million total box office. Now that's cumulative now. It still did very well. Well enough that it was the fourth highest grossing film of 1982, believe it or not. And it got an Oscar nomination for Eye of the Tiger.
That's the song about the cornflake mascot that was in an accident and he had like a Thor type thing happen to him. And nothing, crickets. Okay.
Crickets.
Hoping it will pass.
Okay, let's get into the cast then before we get any further. Sylvester Stallone is, of course, as Rocky Balboa, returning for his third trip around. Talia Shire is Adrian. Does anybody know Adrian's maiden name?
Coppola.
The character name, not her.
Oh, the Adrians.
In the movie, what's her
Paulie's last name?
Whatever
Paulie.
Paulie's last name is.
Okay, so then what's Paulie's last name?
Oh, Shore. What's Paulie's last name? Paulie Shore.
No.
Oh man.
Wait,
Got you already. One down.
Why is it Jeff Lynne?
No, that's the bell for stumping everybody.
Adrian
We can have
Lynn.
the same bell for Lynn. Is everyone take a drink when we get stumped? What's going on here?
Adrian Buckingham.
Adrian's maiden name is Panino.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Paulie Panino, which is just a weird name. Paulie Panino, which is Burt Young, of course, the great Burt Young. Burgess Meredith as Mickey Goldmill. Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed. And Mr. T as Clubber Lang. Anybody know what Clubber Lang's first name is?
James.
Hey, there we go, Sean. Sean got it. James Clubber Lang, which I didn't know
Wasn't
that
Clubber?
was his first name until today. No, that's his nickname. His name is
Was
James
Apollo's
Clubber.
first name really Apollo?
I
Yes.
doubt it.
That's the way it's described in the in the all my
Well, he
research.
did name his son Adonis, so yeah, I'm probably guessing that could be the check.
Very confident family.
Yeah.
Family lineage is very confident with the and they're into the whole God and goddess thing. So that's it only goes to stand. So, yeah, I remember. I mean, Eric, did you see it? Did we see it in the theater together? I know I saw it in the theater.
I don't think I saw it with you. I saw it with Dwight. Yeah, Dwight, our friend Dwight
of
Burke.
the show, Dwight Burke.
Yeah, and our mutual friend Johnny
multiple
Cruz.
Winner in our trivia nights.
Yeah, and I think I saw it with his sister, with Dwight's sister. I think we all went. Yeah, so nice. That was that. So good times.
Sean?
Good times.
Sean, were you of age?
I was definitely of age. I believe I was 8, and I think I know I saw it in the theater. It was spoiled for me by my neighbor, so I knew exactly what was going to happen. I had an older neighbor.
Does that to an 8-year-old?
Yeah, he was older than me. He was probably like 8, 9, 10 years older than me. He lived right next door, and he'd let me hang out sometimes. But I believe I saw this one before the other two as well.
Whoa,
I think I saw this one first.
You hung out with an 18-year-old when you were 8?
No, my mom was friends with. It was my aunt Norma, like we called it aunt and uncle. They were our neighbors, and like we would go over there, as guests, and you
got it.
Someone, hang out with the little kid. The big kid. It was cool. Have a catch with him in the yard and things like that.
Yeah, the neighbor.
Yeah, the neighbor,
the local neighbor. Jerry, what about you? Was this a theater seat?
No, I didn't see. The first Rocky I ever saw was Rocky IV, and that wasn't even in the theater. I didn't see this till much later, and then
like 2 nights ago.
To love it. Yeah, whenever I saw it, I crammed for it. So no, I'd seen Rocky IV, and then I went back and saw the others. So,
and Christy, what about you?
I didn't see it in the theater, but I saw it. Like Jerry, Rocky IV was my first Rocky movie, which I did see in the theater. Because when Rocky III came out, I was 5. But I've seen it a number of times. Again, 2 older brothers, seen it a number of times. Always liked it. Who doesn't like a cheesy Rocky movie?
I didn't realize it was the 40th anniversary. This is the 40. It was the 40th.
Summer of '82.
I realized that we were watching it last, and I'm like, oh my god,
40 years ago,
40 years old. Yeah. And then I had to look up to see how old Stallone was, and I was like, he's 76.
That's it. Yeah, he's still young. He's actually working on another Rocky. There's another Rocky, either a TV series, like a streaming series, or another film in development.
No,
either with him, either with him or a younger. Like the streaming series would be like a prequel. Taking place like in the 60s, or he's got an idea for a feature film, one more, which we'll talk about. Is he going to the well too many times? But I think I was thinking about the Rocky series, because there are 6 Rocky films and then there's 2 Creed films. So we'll just the 6 Rocky films. I almost think of the first 3 as a trilogy, and then the second 3 are kind of a separate thing. Because the first, Rocky III really closes out like the whole arc. He doesn't win in the first one. He wins in the second one. The third one, he's put to the test to see if he's got what it takes. Everything after that is kind of like superhero Rocky. Like he's battling, he might as well battle Superman, and anything else is just kind of other things. Sean, what do you think about that? Is that kind of hold water? That theory?
I think that's an interesting take. It seemed like everything that needed to be done was accomplished in the first 3, but then you got the Cold War going on, and Rocky goes to Russia. He beats the Russian. I remember being in the theater for that one, and the audience cheering when the 2 gloves. Then you got Rocky's trying to train it. Rocky V was, I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked Rocky Balboa a lot. I thought that I did too. I thought it worked. So interesting take on it. But listen,
because the back 3 movies kind of dealt with his injury, right? Because Rocky IV, he gets traumatic, some type of a brain injury. So there's a whole separate story, the loss of Adrian. So that's almost like a three movie cycle in and of itself, where Rocky IV kind of sets the stage for the next two films, where he takes such a brutal punishment and such a brutal beating that in Rocky V, he can't fight anymore. And then Rocky Balboa, which was significantly later, but still kind of continues that same character arc and trajectory.
Mm-hmm. Funnily enough, I think I just read, apparently, Rocky II was supposed to be the Rocky III. He had another script written right after the first film, where it was a sort of an in-between story where he's basically, he doesn't really change. He's still the same character he was in the first movie. Adrian actually gets kind of tired of him and actually meets another guy. She leaves him for another guy, and there's this whole thing there. But there's no fight in the second part. It's just Rocky acclimating himself to, of course the studio didn't reject it, didn't want it. Stallone holds, he loves that script. He's like, I wish I could have made it, but powers that be wouldn't let me. So that became, Rocky II, which was, I remember seeing that in the theater, and people were going nuts. I think I told this story a couple of times on this already, but that was the first time I ever experienced a real audience reaction to that fight. And they had to turn the house lights up because people were so rowdy and standing on their chairs. And the ushers came in, they couldn't get everybody to sit down. So they just said, fuck it. They just turned the house lights up so nobody would get hurt.
Let it run.
But they knew, but there was popcorn flying and the people were, get up, Rocky. And when they were yelling at Rocky in the movie, we were yelling at Rocky to get the hell up off, it was great. That was probably the best experience I had with any of these films. So
and oddly enough, the studio didn't want Sylvester Stallone to direct these films. He got a lot of clout with Rocky. When Rocky, in between, he had directed a movie called Paradise Alley, which was a bomb, but he directed that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, I want to direct Rocky 2. And the studio's like, no, not really. Look at Paradise Alley. He goes, well, if I don't direct it, I'm not going to be in Rocky 2. So he actually had some leverage against them, and they let him direct it, and it paid off. Rocky 2 was a great kind of sequel to the he didn't win. We've talked about that on other episodes before, and then Rocky 3, he's got the clout, and I think a lot of Christy, what do you think about this? Some people, for some reason, like Sylvester Stallone, I think a lot of people think that he is like Rocky Balboa, like he's not very intelligent, or like that he's that character. He's so closely defined that I don't think people realize what a skilled screenwriter and really what a capable and good director he really is, and the stories that he comes out with. But I think because, it's like, hey, Adrian, hey, what's going on? And they think that that's him.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that the guy behind it is directing these films.
Well, it's hard for me to separate that, even though I know he did all that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I still have in the back of my head that it's Rocky writing these.
But he jumps from Rocky to Rambo. Copland is probably one of the few movies where he stepped out of his comfort zone, because he also does Expendables. He does these tough guy, dumbed down guy, characters.
Yeah.
And Copland was probably the first movie you're like, oh, okay, like he has a range here. He just doesn't really do it. But look, there's always been speculation. There's been, it's not a secret that someone said that they claim they wrote the screenplay and that he stole it and all that. So assuming that Sylvester Stallone wrote the scripts, they're really good scripts and they're very well directed movies. So assuming he did everything, no, he's very talented. He just never got out of his comfort zone with it, and almost to what Eric is saying is, where he's at 76, he's thinking about another Rocky movie. It's like, do something else. Show you have a range, go with it.
I would argue that he created his own. Well, I mean, I never really thought about this before. It just occurred to me as I watched the third one again. But he created his own universe, didn't he? This is one of the great franchises, and it's all him. It's all, he wrote it, he directed it, most of them.
Yeah.
There's nobody else, nobody else. I mean, I think the studio probably stepped in and dictated that, we need this and we need another adversary, but look at Rocky IV. Look at the way he changed the movie. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the new version of it. He recut the movie. I think it's a better film because it kind of lowers that goofiness that it was, back in the 80s. Of course, it was very much a movie of its time. Yeah. But he decided that when he watched it again, he's like, no, I there's some things that I want to change about this. I've learned a few things over the years. I think I'm a better, more capable director and writer now. So I want to go back and fix some of this stuff.
He George Lucas did.
Yeah.
We've coined that term on previous episodes. He went back and that was a big thing. Yeah. And it premiered on Amazon Prime exclusively, the new cut of it. The point I'm trying to make is that I think Sylvester Stallone is very underrated. He's a very formidable screenwriter. He writes a lot of films, and he directs a lot. He doesn't direct everything that he's in, but he's certainly not afraid to do that and to direct films. He did the fight choreography for Rocky III too. So he had, there's a lot going on there. He's got his hands in everything. So he's not just like an Arnold Schwarzenegger that shows up and all the heavy lifting is done. The script is done, the special effects, Sylvester Stallone's really literally got his hands in the gloves doing all the work, and I think we really kind of need to appreciate that. Rocky III. Yeah,
because we keep coming back to these movies because they do have. We're in love with these characters.
Staying power.
It's staying power. They all have a lot of heart. Despite the fact that they're more, the sequels are more sort of Hollywood, more. I would say that Rocky 3 and 4 are probably the most action packed. Yeah, given the whole the action star that he became. Yep. Rocky was part of that. So Rocky 3 is definitely it's faster, it's shorter. It's like nonstop, beginning to end, like not a lot more action, a lot more fighting.
Well, that's because 3 starts where he doesn't concentrate on story as much as on boxing. So 1 and 2 are more story driven. Boxing's a big part of it, but then once you get to 3 and 4, you have a lot more. There's a story there, but it's not nearly as meaty.
It's not as dramatic.
You're there for the montages. You're there for the boxing. And that's what I was getting to.
That's what I was getting to. In watching Rocky III, in the first 7 minutes, it's a flashback and a montage.
Yeah,
the first 7 minutes is a
those
flashback.
Are Rocky movies.
a recap of what happened before, in case you missed it.
Yeah,
or if you didn't see
it,
you catch the end of the last movie,
right?
And then there's a montage bringing you up to speed of what happened in between before we catch up with the characters. And I don't know if Stallone, that's got to be one of his stock in trade is the montage. He loves putting clips together to move, and it helps move the story along because it's, do we need to see every training session? No, we need to see them things grouped together. His development, he sucks, he's struggling, he's getting better. Then he's perfect at it, and the montage is that's a hallmark of the Rocky films in general. And I don't know if he certainly didn't invent it, but I don't know if other action movies started grabbing it, because then there was always a montage, and like in Commando of Arnold putting the knife in and putting the vest on and all these that became a quick way of storytelling or getting some kinetic energy.
Well, I think
the film.
The first 2 movies, they deal with a lot with his just coming to terms with everything, falling in love, getting married, and showing him he can't box anymore because of his eye, and he's got to get a proper job. So I think, critically speaking, critics didn't care for that. It was a little too much. So maybe that's why he came up with that trope of the montage, because there's a lot there going on. How to him getting famous and him, becoming handsome and fixing his face and all that stuff, and him, getting the big house. That could have been the whole movie. The big part of that story could have been half the movie right there of just that. Much like Rocky II. But.
It's interesting in the film. Paulie actually says to him, when he's going on before he asks him for a job, he's like, "Look at you, you do this, you fix your face," and because, and I guess that maybe. I purposely written into the script so we acknowledge he looks different. Like,
yes,
he's got the
does.
feathered hair, his complexion, he's everything. He's smarter.
yes.
From
all of a sudden he's well educated and
well, you know,
he
friends
gets smarter,
don't know,
and then he goes down again.
Friends
Like,
because they want to.
the cadence isn't quite as like, you know, like, you know.
In 3, he's smart, and 4, he's smarter, and then at 5, it's like boom.
Wow.
Just,
yeah.
Just
it's like flowers for Algernon.
friends don't know. Friends do because they want to, Paul.
Yeah, you know, but those little details, I mean, you say like, okay, it's a little ridiculous, but when you think about it, if he made that much money, yeah, he's going to sit down with people to teach him how to talk, how to do commercials. Like he couldn't do it in Rocky 2 because he only cleared 30 grand. From that first fight, so he didn't have the clout of the money.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and
he
all
can
the
get all
endorsements and everything.
surgeries. He can get all that kind of stuff. So
I want to ask Sean about that, but before we get to that, Christy said, "Oh, Rocky looked different." For this movie, Sylvester Stallone went down to 155 pounds. In the film, when he first tussles with Thunderlips, he's 202 or 203. Yeah. By the time he fights Clubber Lang, he's 192.
Yeah.
So in the movie, he lost 10 pounds, going on the Apollo program, we'll call it.
Yeah.
But in real life, he was actually 155 because he wanted Mr. T to look that much bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
And what he did, he lost so much weight that he was becoming disoriented on set. And he used to have to do handstands to get the blood to rush to his head.
Wow.
That sounds healthy.
Because he would eat 5 egg whites and a piece of toast each day, and then on another day he did oatmeal or something. He lost so much weight, but got ripped. I mean, the guy got totally ripped. But Eric makes a good point, and Sean, I want to ask you about that because Mickey says it too. Mickey says to Rocky, he goes, the worst thing that happened to you is, that happens to a fighter happened to you. You got civilized.
Yeah.
And Paulie kind of foreshadows it in the beginning too. He goes, "You're different. You changed." Because Paulie, in that montage, Paulie is watching from the stands and he's drinking from his bottle. do you think, is there something to that? You think that you lose a little something when you get a taste of the big time?
I think so. And actually, right after the montage in the opening starts out with fireworks. It's like boom, 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 boom. That's how the film starts, with fireworks. And then he's completely gone Hollywood. He's lost his edge. And these are things I didn't pick up on when I was 8 years old. Like I was just like, fight, where the fights and montage. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's trained and he's got the band playing the theme song. He's got his brother, Frank Stallone reference. They're
making his second podcast appearance.
That's right.
I should have a Frank Stallone bell at my house. He's getting kissed by his real wife. That's you know that, right? That's his real wife.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's his real wife.
Blonde.
Okay. Yeah,
Jasper kiss.
When he's working out on that machine.
Yeah. And the thing but the thing I will say is, despite all that, Mickey says, "I'm proud of you."
He's gonna kill you.
That's the problem I have. If Mickey's like, "I'm proud of you. You're gonna do it." He didn't train right, and
no,
Mickey
he did
knew
not.
that.
Mickey knows. Mickey knows that at this point, it's
he's
going through the motions, so he's gonna do. At that point, why rock the boat, right? I mean, I think Mickey kind of knew. He put up the good fight. That there was that great scene about. The fighters were handpicked, and this was like a paper. I didn't really fight anybody, and even Adrian says it. Mickey's job is to protect you, and so there's a great conflict there of Rocky really questioning his worth because he gets totally pummeled by Clubber Lang. I mean, Jerry Clubber Lang destroys him inside of 2 rounds. I mean, it wasn't even close. And for one thing, in these movies, Jerry, I don't maybe if you've been in any street fights or boxing rings, but do these guys try and block punches or no?
No, if boxing really looked like that, I would watch boxing all the time.
Right?
If it really looked like that, I mean, it's the most exciting sport ever.
I remember being disappointed when I watched real boxing. I'm like, where's
Where's the roundhouse?
Where's the spit?
Tyson was insane.
Where's the punching? Where's the big head snaps?
Where's the roundhouse punch?
Yeah. And the taunting and all that stuff. But it was, I guess when you have to choreograph it a certain way. But, to go back to, with Mickey picking the fights for him and stuff. To me, Mickey, in that whole little area, Mickey kind of showed himself to be probably the best trainer he did what he had to do for Rocky, and then he was
did
out.
He really? I mean,
because he knew he
sounds
knew
like Rocky
enough.
wasn't capable. So why was he doing that?
Because he was civilized.
No, Rocky. I'm going to interject here, but Rocky was never a good boxer. He was a bruiser.
Yeah,
he could take it.
Yeah,
he could take the punishment, but he couldn't. He could give you give as good as he can take, but he didn't have the skill set that Apollo had.
Yeah.
And Apollo knew this, of course, but he just couldn't defeat the guy. He was like punching steel after a while. How much can this guy take? I can't beat him because I could win with skill. I could win with points, but I can't. He's still standing.
You can't outlast him.
But Mickey, he's teaching him the old ways. Like this is he's going way back to Mickey's, like the 30s, and we're talking like old school. Like, and he never left the fight game. This was his life. This was his. He was always, he would go to fights, and that's how he got to know about Clubber, because he would go to the fights and he was checking up on these guys and who's up and coming. And he saw that this knows. Oh my God,
that the fight game is passing him by.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And because he is in the montages of watching Clubber Lang, and that's when Clubber sees him in the audience. I want my shot,
Yeah.
And Mickey, I guess, had the foresight to know that this is, he's a wrecking machine.
Yeah.
And to know that, and Eric mentions old school boxing. It was great to see some old school wrestling with Hulk Hogan.
Oh yeah,
because that's the wrestling I remember. Like in '82, wrestling was almost like. They were still making case that it was real. Right. Like it wasn't quote unquote sports entertainment. It was kind of like that's when I was in '82. I was primetime watching wrestling on Channel 9 in New York, in the New York area local. It wasn't all about the stories. It was about the guys got into the ring, and the story was like a side thing. So seeing some of this old style Hulk Hogan stuff with slapping his bicep and really taunting the crowd, like that's the way it used to be. That
I remember you were a big fan of Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah, Superfly.
Superfly. Yeah. Did you have like a big poster of him on your wall or something like that, or something?
I had a Superfly.
Yep.
That's him. So it was fun to see like that old stuff, because that's the kind of stuff you used to see back then, is those exhibition matches with a wrestler and a boxer, and that kind of stuff was real. So it was nice to see Hulk Hogan. I don't know how. I mean, when you see Hogan picking up Rocky, it looks like he's holding like a dwarf.
Yeah.
Like when he throws him into the stands, the guy looks tiny. I mean, I know
Stallone's not tall. Isn't Stallone like 5'8"?
No, he's shrimp. He's really short. Yeah.
And if he weighs $155, that's like throwing a kid.
Yeah, he struggled to hold Hulk Hogan up. Hulk Hogan had to jump into his arms. Because he couldn't deadlift him like Hogan lifted him.
Well, I think that's part of the genius of the casting of Hulk Hogan, because he just looks so much bigger. It's like it's forced perspective. It's like because Stallone's so short, and he's supposed to be taller. So when he comes up to Hulk Hogan, the guy's like 7 foot tall.
Hogan,
so I thought it was great.
Why are they carrying him in?
He's
walking.
He's like, Nick, what does he eat? He's like about 202 pounds. Weighing in at 202 pounds. So a lot of great little side things like that. They kept and Stallone was really great at that. He knew the characters. And he wrote Mickey so well. Mickey is crotchety, but he's also a human being. He's not just all that all the complaining. Because he really cared for him, but he was able to have fun like that. Did you ever fight a dinosaur? Like that kind of stuff.
What the heck was a variety of problems?
We're talking about Hulk Hogan, and we're talking about Hulk Hogan 40 years later. But don't forget, when this movie came out, no one knew who Hulk Hogan was. He just started. Right. So for the viewers of the film, it's like, who's this guy? And like what you were saying, Dean, like back then, wrestling was different, and it was a lot of people watched it, so we watch it and we know who Hulk Hogan is, and we know the history of Hulk Hogan and everything that happened. But back then, when they're watching it, they're like, who's this giant? I mean, same things like Mr. T. That was his film debut. No one knew who Mr. T was, and we look at it, we're like, 18.
And what a debut it was!
Yeah, the ultimate male versus the ultimate meatball.
Yeah. DC Kib.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? He was originally Stallone wanted pro boxer. 2 pro boxers were considered Ernie Shavers and Joe Frazier, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think Ernie Shavers kind of came to the set one day, I think beforehand, and Stallone said, "Listen, give me a real hit me give me a real punch," and he did. He almost killed him. Stallone had to escort himself out of there pretty quickly because he got really pretty hurt. Those guys didn't work out just because of their acting chops. And then there was I remember this. There was a World's Toughest Bouncer TV show, and Mr. T won it. And he caught the eye of the casting director, and he took it very seriously. Like he took acting lessons. He really wanted to really bring some the guy doesn't have a whole lot of dimension, but he's got a lot of menace, and he's got to have the right attitude. And he could easily go over the top, but he doesn't. He is quite menacing. He's quite threatening. He's
scary.
He's got a level that he kind of stops at, and it's enough.
He's like a feral animal.
To the point where when he went to go see the film, he took his mother to go see the film. And the point when he's like taunting Adrian, like, woman, why don't you come see somebody? And Mr. T's mother left. She goes, my son doesn't talk to women like that. Yeah. And she got up and actually left the screening because she was so annoyed, like that he would, obviously, it was a character, but
did anybody notice? Here's a little cool little thing. I watched it, and the band, when it's playing again the Rocky theme song, I don't know why they're playing the Rocky
reality,
right? But one of the drummers, if you look real close, the skin of his drum has Mr. T signed it.
Oh, really?
There's a signature on the drum, Mr. T.
I heard that.
I heard about
that.
So
I'm thinking that these kids were extras, but they were probably a band from a real high school that Stallone brought in.
They were from a high school.
So they were on set that day.
I thought about that too. Like they're playing the Rocky theme in the Rocky movie.
Yeah.
Very meta.
That's like the score. Like when does a boxer have his own actual theme that's like scored? And then when at the end when Rocky's like finishing up and they're playing it like softly and Mickey's like, stop, play something else.
Change your tune back there. Yeah.
It's kind of in theme with it, but when he's on the Sesame Street, when they show him on Sesame Street that's actually his real footage from when he was on Sesame
Street. The Muppet Show. Yeah.
They used a lot of that cross. And there was some award show footage that they used as well. So it was great that they were able to capitalize on Sylvester Stallone's actual appearances to incorporate that into the character. He was on the Muppet Show and he's doing all these different ads and whatnot. He did there was a DeLorean ad in there too, so a little Back to the Future maybe.
He was a rising star, and Rocky was rising with him. It's like his persona. I mean, the movie was decidedly a lot more Hollywood. Rocky 3 was compared to the first movie, which is just a low budget film. It's just in indie film. This thing is like an action movie. It's like it's gotten to that point where he's not exactly jumping the shark here. Like I would say
that's today or yesterday. By the way, was that the anniversary? Was yesterday or today of him jumping the shark? By the way,
the real jumping the shark.
Yeah, the real jumping. The episode. The anniversary was either because we were in the car and it was on the news and they were talking. They referenced it. It was either yesterday or today. Eric, that's an interesting point. You bring up that Stallone was rising to fame simultaneously with his character Rocky. And that might be a number of reasons, Dean, why people don't associate him with anything else, or he doesn't step out of that comfort zone and he doesn't let go of it because there's probably an ego thing, but also a psychological. If I keep Rocky relevant, I'm relevant, and that's.
Well, he said as much. He said that Rocky has been his therapist. Rocky is a near and dear friend. Rocky is like a brother because he's written this character for so long, and he's able to kind of use him as some type of catharsis or some type of therapy in
he
writing.
He doesn't say they have dinner together and they go for long walks.
Well, consider a lot of the speeches that Rocky makes, especially like I'm thinking the great speech when he's giving it to his son.
Yeah.
in Rocky Balboa, which I was brought to tears. I'm watching it with my oldest son. We were both crying at that scene because he's just, life will beat you down. And it's like, and it was such a great speech. But that's Stallone talking too. When you hear him outside of that, and like in interviews and stuff, he'll say the same exact stuff. Yes. So he purposely wrote that, into the script. So So
Sean, what most overused line in the film? Eye the Tiger, Rock. Eye the Tiger. I mean, Apollo is the only one that's the only one that actually says that line, but he steamrolls it.
Yeah, and Paulie, I don't sweat you. I couldn't he must have said it 100 times.
Sweat you?
I don't sweat you.
Can I have a job?
Yeah.
He took a shot from Hulk Hogan. He did a nice fall. Like when Hulk Hogan knocked him in the head, Paulie did a real fall. Like he did a real wrestling.
And what
fall.
does Paulie do? But hold the radio in the butt. That's
it.
And
complain. He's the comic relief.
He's the jealous.
Job.
Yeah.
But what is his job? Like, what is he doing? Why is he in the way?
Sean, he holds the bucket when Rocky actually really spits on him and he's not prepared, and Burt Young has a real reaction to it.
Sean, he basically does what a kid would do. That worked for a boxer. He does like all the menial stuff, like holding like the stool.
Yeah. What else is he good for?
Like putting the towel around him and standing around like that. That was it.
I love Paulie, but
I love the scene where I love the scene where he's yelling at the bums in the alley.
Yes.
Shut up, you sterno bums. And then he lies down and he's got a newspaper as a blanket. He's just as much of a bum as they are.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Need a place with more class. It's like, go back to the first Rocky in Philly. It was kind of dirty and pretty grungy back there, you know? Now all of a sudden he's an aristocrat. It's just
right.
What about the bromance between Rocky and Apollo? The racing down the beach, splashing in the waves, splashing in the waves.
Good Lord!
What do you think, Jerry? Splashing at the waves? Is that a bromance? Is that the first bromance?
Top Gun volleyball scene.
That's
dancing
in the
oh man,
it predates it. And these guys got the cut. These got the inside out cut off sweatshirts.
And
what's the deal?
crop tops, the
high shorts, man.
Short shorts,
high shorts, and even higher socks. And for every inch you move the shorts up, you move the socks up 2 inches.
And how about those close-ups of those thighs, man? Of the thighs, like you see, like if you move the camera just an inch, you could probably look up Apollo shorts there.
And by the way, if that's what you look like in slow motion running, no one ever takes slow motion videos of me running. Like their facial expressions are absolutely
didn't look so bad.
Ridiculous. Like Stallone's like.
Even the freeze frame at the end, Stallone's got to have not worry about like the freeze frame when he's hands in the air and his face is like
his face. He's got that side like like wow, it's not a
clapping and dancing in the waves, hugging Sean. What do you think?
I loved Apollo in this movie. I think he's got some great lines. I think he's got a lot of wisdom. He's got some, there is no tomorrow. Like you remember those lines. Just some of the things. He's just a man. He's just a man. Like he's just
more man.
Yeah, I think he's great in that role, and I actually wish that we could see Apollo fight Clubber Lang because
that scene where he comes up to him and he's like, "Get out of my face!"
Yeah, I love it.
I don't need no has-been
turn your back on me.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't get along on set.
Yeah.
They actually did not. Mr. T and Carl Weathers did not get along on set. So the scene right before he fights Rocky and Apollo walks over to him and there's a little hostility. They had just had a fight right before that scene, like disagreement.
I believe it.
Well, look at Stone's on Mr. T. It's his first movie, and he's not getting along with Carl Weathers, who's been in the first two. Like, what the Stone's on?
I don't know.
He got Bouncer of the Year, Sean. What are you talking
right. Hey.
But Mr. T was like,
come
on, Creed.
DC Cab next. So
paper champion.
Come on, Creed. Like, he says it with such contempt.
I love it. I love that.
Come on, you want to jump?
No, he's great.
Oh, man, he's just so full, like, just so angry and just like so like singularly focused. But that's what it is. It's like, and he says it. He goes, "I train alone. I'll win the championship alone." And he doesn't need any. Was he a precursor to literally a precursor to Mike Tyson? This devastating boxer that would destroy people in 2 rounds, brutally. And then a few years later, Mike Tyson comes on the scene and is like the real
Clubber Lang,
the real deal, like 30-second knockdowns.
Clubber Lang seemed to have a little more
deeper voice.
Well, deeper voice. less face tattoos later on, but also seemed to have a little more brains, I guess.
Okay.
Mike Tyson,
brute strength,
was just a monster. He was a machine. He had people got Clubber Lang, I think, as the character's written, literally did it on his own. Yeah. And that's why, like, he, to me, is like one of the best villains. Like, Drago in 4 is like a cartoon. And there's also the Cold
He's like a
War.
boxing Terminator.
Clubber Lang is when he's pacing before the fight and they have, like, he looks like a caged animal and then he runs over and he knocks the camera. Yeah. I would be terrified just to even be near that. So, like, his villainy is just, I thought,
he's got a really, I don't even know if he has a short fuse. I don't think he has any fuse.
He's the first villain in Rocky. Jerry, do you know why? Because he has the eye of the tiger.
Well, that
he didn't have it.
Well, no, he took
it.
He took it from Rocky. He took the eye of the tiger. I don't know. You gotta get it back.
So
I told him you gotta get it back.
I have a question. Do you think he's responsible for Mickey's death?
Who?
Clubber?
No.
Oh, he had a little bit of a heart thing before that, and
he had it at the Thunder Lips.
Yeah, it was inevitable. But the bigger question is, had that not happened to Mickey, would Rocky have fought better?
No.
Or was this destined to be a disaster from the
go? He was going to lose that fight.
Would have been even worse.
He was losing no matter what.
He was losing. He was probably going to lose, but would it have been such a bloodbath? Because he was, and that's a great scene where Rocky's like, Adrian, what do I do? And Mickey's like, you don't know what to do at this point in your life. Like, what is your problem?
Last dying breath.
He's like, go out there and do it. Like, that this is what you're built for. Like, you're questioning even this now, like that what do you do?
And that had to have been such a struggle for him to muster up that.
He's like, he grabs him
energy.
After all this time, you don't know.
That's the last words he utters on his feet, and then the next thing goes down right after that. So
that's right. Yep.
Yeah. I gotta say, when at the funeral scene, the makeup on the bruising of Rocky so realistic. It looked like there's just how he had the glasses on and then the bruising just around his eyes. Whoever did that makeup, it looked really incredible.
Yeah.
I got to give him kudos to
Westmore. Michael Westmore did it. He did Star Trek. He worked on Star Trek and a number of shows,
he did. It's just really kind of you almost don't even think about it. It's like, wow, he's really bruised up. And you don't think, wow, is that makeup? It just looks so I don't know. I just had to give credit to the bruise.
Yeah.
Credit to the bruise.
No, it did. It looked great. Yeah.
And since you brought up the funeral, until no one knew Mickey was going to be Jewish,
right?
They made him Jewish as an homage to a lot of the trainers were Jewish men, but everyone, including myself, just assumed Mickey was an Irish Catholic.
Yeah.
And then they said, we're going to give him the last name Goldmill.
And for some reason, they made him 2 years older than Burgess Meredith really is. Burgess Meredith was born in 1907. Mickey Goldmill was born in 1905. Why make him older?
I don't know. I think they also said
what's 2 years going to do, Sean? Yeah. What does 2 years do, Sean? I don't understand.
Not much.
More experience.
Not much.
2 more years of ring experience.
What about Adrian in this movie?
Oh boy! Oh boy! Are you ready? Are we ready?
What's the part I'm going to bring up? Come on.
What's the beach?
When she tries to sing "Take You Back."
Singing.
Is she deaf?
I was like, come on.
I'm like, what? You can't hear? And he's like, no, you're doing it wrong. She's like, do.
It's like do. Like, come on.
Well, Stallone, doesn't have his brother's voice either. He's like,
he understands. Do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was what does he say? I don't know the rest of the composition.
I forgot the rest of the composition.
I forgot the rest of the composition. So
So I'm just gonna say
she's more at this point. She became more of a side thing, like in the stands, reacting to things, and then she gets her one speech, and it was a little. Talia Shire could be a little over. Yeah. Like she was really good as Mousy Adrian, but then when she became the other Adrian, she kind of really started chewing. Some scenes she's kind of chewing it up a little bit.
You know what?
That character just
That's because she took a little bit of Connie from The Godfather.
Right. Yeah,
I agree.
She brought it in because when she yells at Michael, Which
That's
when
right.
when
Yep.
he kills
She should have left
Carlo.
Connie there.
Carlo, and and she goes after him. You see shades of that in Adrian. You really do. And was this the beginning of the Adrian like slow mo? You're good, like weird. Because there should be someone should put an Adrian montage together of all of her odd moments of yelling, "You're gonna do it," or Rocky, or throw in the towel, whatever.
Why did she have to go with them why did they leave the son alone
all the time?
And she had to go sit with her fur coat and every practice.
Home.
Well, they left. First of all, they call him the kid in the film. They don't even. He doesn't even have a name yet. He would be Robert eventually, but he's like the kid. He's like, "Hey, Paulie, don't take him to the track."
Yeah.
It's like
loving these.
Look, you can care less about the. Oh, there's me, there's you, there's the kid.
Yeah.
Like when they're talking to lose, like they can't even say the guy's name.
I don't want to lose what I got. I got a kid.
Yeah. There's you, there's me, Adrian. The kid. What's the kid's name?
What's the truth?
Damn it. Great stuff. Like
I don't know the composition of the kid's name.
Adrian in the other two movies was a better character. It just was strong.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, in the first movie,
Yeah.
His son Sergio played it, and then in Rocky V, the late Sage Stallone played it.
Yes,
and he was the one I was getting bullied. He's like, "Dad, kick his ass, Dad."
You're going to spend a second talking about how the kid goes from the kid to Robert to at Rocky IV. He's
like
9, and then Rocky V. Rocky V, he's 15.
Yeah, like when they go to Russia, how long were they in Russia?
How long were they in Russia? Exactly.
Were they there for 5 years? They come back and the kid's like twice.
There was obviously extradition issues at that point. Since the Cold War was ending, and Rocky, got stuck at that log cabin. He was had to pull logs to to work his way out to get a visa. And then they came back, and Robert was this different. Wait, who's this kid? What happened to the kid?
Robert was raised by the robot, Paulie's robot.
Home team.
Happy birthday, Robert.
Happy birthday, Robert. Happy birthday, Paulie.
Oh my!
One thing I noticed about the final fight is that the first
police
2 rounds
officers had their helmets on. Weird, oddly.
Okay, well they should. Hopefully for protection. You don't know what's going to happen.
No, they were like motorcycle cops randomly next to regular other cops. They had their helmets on. You could take your helmet off when you're not on the motorcycle.
Probably no heat in there.
Or riot gear. Maybe they were worried about a riot.
But the first 2 rounds were pretty short in comparison to the third round, which didn't even end. Like the first 2 rounds had a beginning and an end, and then the last round had no end until the knockout. But that was a pretty long round. And I noticed also the first 2 rounds had no music. It wasn't until the third round that the score started to kick in. So they kind of foreshadowed, okay, this is when something's going to start to happen. Say what we're gonna. We kind of laugh about the lack of defense in these films, but the choreography on that is just like some of the hits look like they're
and the misses.
And with Stallone just kind of dodging those
the
ones.
Speed of it is
you've really got to you got to spend time doing that. And these guys are not, obviously they consulted with boxers, and at this point, I'm sure Stallone had some type of experience a little bit, studying it and writing about it. But like we had said earlier, this is a fight heavy film, right? A fight heavy film. It wasn't more drama and less fighting. This was a lot of stuff had to happen between the wrestling stuff that you got to choreograph.
It's interesting to note that the fight, Clubber could have easily been like Rocky and said, well, I won the title and I just, he could have slacked off.
Right.
No, but he trained exactly the same. He was still the same guy. I mean, he came back, and when Rocky was really going after him, and he was like uncontrollable. He's like, and he's like, they had to, took like 10 guys to pull him down, and he's just like screaming, and he's like, I'll kill you, man. And like, you felt that. I mean, that felt real, man. That was just wow.
Yeah, he couldn't believe what was happening. That's why.
Also, to Stallone's credit, he wrote the last scene using the rope-a-dope, which I guess Ali started, which is like, and when you're watching it, you don't realize what he's doing. It's actually very strategic what he's doing, to pretend that to let Clubber Lang beat the crap out of him and look like you're down, and then just you do that comeback. So that was
he got him so tired. He used up all of his arms. He had nothing left.
Only Paulie caught on to that.
Yeah. So Paulie
at one point when he's like, he's getting angry. Paulie's like, no, he's getting angry.
Yeah.
Even though Rocky said, it's my plan, he's breathing heavy. Yeah. Apollo is still like, you're getting killed out there. You know, he's a big man, be a bigger man.
They had a plan before, Jerry. Right? They had a training plan. So if Apollo sees Rocky just throwing it away, he's going to be like, oh, this is going to be shades of what we just saw.
Are we going to talk about the training?
He said as much. He said as much when they were watching the film. He goes, "We got to put this guy away early. Rocky has to, otherwise Rocky's going to be
the opposite of Mickey.
He's not going to last."
That sounds like the opposite, though. If he's not built to last, wouldn't you want him to go longer so he'd get tired?
But he proved that he could last. That's why he changed the strategy. The old Rocky came through the bruiser, and
it was like a hybrid.
It was like, I'm going to take this now. I'm going to take everything he's got to prove that I can take it and just get him pissed off, and he's going to start wasting his punches.
Yeah.
So there was a little, he knew what he was doing there, but despite that, he got knocked down like twice.
Yeah.
One more time, he would have been out.
I mean, they would have stopped
a big risk.
You get knocked down twice. I mean, I know it's a movie, but you get knocked down twice like that. I mean, maybe even the first time, that fight is over.
Yeah, but was that included in his rope-a-dope?
I don't think so. No,
Ali didn't go down.
Like, at what point does the rope-a-dope come into play then?
I didn't get the playbook. I don't know.
I think after the second knockdown, he probably once he got back up, I think he probably figured, okay, let me get my head together. Because why wouldn't he have done that in the first fight? It's because his head wasn't in the fight. So I think after the second knockdown, he figured, okay, you know what? Let's change this up a little bit. I can sustain this kind of punishment, because that was basically the same thing in Rocky 4. Was like his ability to
better athlete.
He's a much better boxer after he trains with Apollo. He has rhythm. He knows how to duck. He's not, he's more of a fighter and less of a bruiser after he trains with Apollo. Like,
he's a lot faster.
Yeah, he learned skill, and they say 20
weight.
Well, they say he looks 20 pounds trimmer, but it's actually 10 pounds when they say the weight difference. But and then in real life, Dean said it was even more. But one interesting thing, Duke? Why does he have his when they're sparring?
Thank you, Chris. I was going to point. I made a note of that.
Why is Duke taking? So they all have their, like, Apollo has his shirt off and Rocky has his shirt off. Why is Duke standing behind, like, with his shirt
Why
off?
is his shirt? Like, I said the same thing to Kelly. We were watching it.
When they're in the gym, training, it's like towards the end, like when Rocky's like actually good, he's now what Apollo wants.
And Duke is standing in the background, and he's got his shirt off with the chain, like he's
they're dancing.
It's hot.
What's Duke doing?
Maybe he was jumping in.
Maybe he was doing a couple of rounds.
From what I understand, there's unreleased footage of Mickey with his shirt off during training as well. They just didn't have time, Hey, Mick, why don't you take your shirt off and make yourself a little comfortable? Apollo does it.
Second montage after Adrian's speech, I think that second montage is the best montage.
That's when it all comes together. Montage.
All the Rocky movies, that's my favorite.
Wow. I don't know. I like Rocky 4 when he's training and he's lifting and he's running up. I do like that one. And when he gets in and out of the car, when after Apollo dies.
Easy way out.
But Jerry, that's one of my favorite scenes in Rocky 3. That montage. It's such a good montage. It really is.
Especially when he pulls Paulie into the pool.
Yeah.
Paulie.
I like the one from Rocky 2. I like the one the kids.
Can he swim with a name like Rock?
Because in Rocky 2, you had two. You had the gonna fly now thing, but you also had the montage right before it. So you see when she says, when she finally wakes up from the coma and she says, win.
Yep.
And then you hear the music and he's like, what are we waiting for? Take this, let's go, because he wasted a lot of time. So he had to make up for a lot of time. So you see him with the sledgehammer in the junkyard and pulling the, stuff and, but I like the gonna fly now with the kids. That's my favorite. When all the kids are chasing, that brings, of course, a tear to the eye, and but that's great. That's when all the kids.
Has anybody been to Philly? Has anybody been to the steps?
No. I've run the steps. I did it. My daughters, I made them do it. They haven't seen Rocky yet. They've kind of watched it with me down there. But she's like, is that where we ran up the steps? I'm like, so the statue. Yeah, we've done.
There was a little controversy about the statue. There was actually 3 statues that were built for the film. And they wanted to leave the statue where it was in front of that museum, and the museum's kind of like, is this a prop or is this art? Like there was really a question about it. It's probably a little bit of both, right? Mm-hmm. It was a movie prop, but it is a piece of art at that point. They took it away. They moved it to like the Spectrum Center or whatever. And then they brought it back, and now it's back at it's not at the top of the steps anymore. I think it's at the bottom now.
But you know what's at the top of the steps, Dean?
Park, I think.
Rocky's footprints, and it says Rocky. The footprints, they're on the top. So where he stood at the top, you see you see the footprints of the Converse, I guess what he was wearing.
Oh. Yeah, back then running in Converse. Geez, Jerry, what do you think about that?
Oh man,
I'd have some issues.
Yeah, plantar fasciitis. Here we come.
I don't know. It's just going to soak up all the moisture. I'm not sure.
Were cons ever comfortable? They're so hard to walk in because they're so flat. I can't imagine running in them.
It was the default shoe. I mean, that was the shoe.
Yeah.
It was fashion over comfort. It wasn't about being comfortable. It was about having the Converse and he had the solid gray sweatpant combo.
Yeah,
back then. But then in
the
Rocky
big
3,
stain on his ass, like he looks like he took a nice in his pants. No, in the first movie, it's like he's got a big wet stain on the.
I think the whole sweatsuit has stains like randomly placed on
of course, yeah.
Well, because he had to sweat the weight off. In Rocky 3, he had no problem. Rocky 3, he had his black and yellow kind of logo colors, like the Italian stallion logo. He was logoed out, especially during the training session. They got all the concessions and the pins and the posters and.
It's interesting you talk about him like training and losing that weight, but I had heard that that's when he was taking steroids.
Really,
Stallone. Yeah,
he might have been for performance to get the muscle.
That's why he was so cut.
And four, he was doing steroids. In 4, he was bigger.
No, I mean in real life. Stallone was
I'm saying in 3 and 4, I believe he was taking steroids. You're not going to look like that without a little help.
To get the body.
Yeah, I mean he was really cut in Rocky 3 compared to the first 2 movies. He was a little stocky.
They say his body fat percentage was as low as 2%.
Yeah, it was like 2%.
Which is insane. I mean, that's dangerous.
Well, that's
5 pounds, and he's cut, he's ripped like that.
That's why he was passing out on the set.
Yeah,
it's crazy, absolutely crazy. But such a good film, though. It's one of these ones that just you can put it on, and you just take the trip. You laugh, you poke some fun at it, you poke some holes in the boxing.
Sure.
It's not meant to be authentic. But it's meant to be entertaining, and it really is. I mean,
it is.
It really is.
Like I said, I keep going back to Stallone writing it. Yeah, Jerry.
It's like an hour and a half.
It's perfect. Yeah, perfect time.
Everything.
Yeah.
But all the Rocky movies, I agree with Sean with the except like 5 is.
I liked 5. I'm like one of the few people that liked 5.
With Tommy, no, it's just not a good movie.
I think it was good for its time.
Touch me and
I'll sue. Come on, Paul.
But the Rocky movies, they're entertaining. Like it's kind of like the Die Hard movies, right? You know what you're signing up for. It's going to be ludicrous at times. It's going to be a little corny at times, but you're going to laugh. You're going to be on the edge of your seat. They're just enjoyable movies. I thoroughly enjoyed watching Rocky 3 again.
Yeah,
I remember those laughs in the theater. I remember the laughs vividly, like where they come and how the audience reacted to it. It was he's just got a really great touch. Like I said, I don't think he gets enough credit for his screenwriting. Everyone just kind of takes it for granted.
Maybe you one of the best lines in Rocky 5.
I got to throw you one of the best lines in Rocky 5. When at the end, when Tommy Gunn comes into the bar and Paulie's going to,
I know exactly where you're going.
He goes, "You knocked him down. Won't you try knocking me down?"
Oh. I thought you were going another way.
You know it's on. It's like
the best line was when Paulie says, "Tommy, you're a piece of garbage."
Yeah, piece of garbage.
Sure. What did you think it was?
Then you know Rocky's gonna fight. He's like, "Why don't you try knocking me down?" And it's like, okay, street fight.
When my favorite line is when they're like, "Rock, you need help?" He's like, "This ain't no pie eating guy." That one I remember in the theater, laughing out loud.
Yeah. He's like, "Hey, Father, could you maybe throw a prayer down for Tommy Gunn so he doesn't get hurt?" It was more cartoonish, but because of the way the character was,
let's go back to the roots kind of thing. It was
just too far. The fall was too far from
too steep.
But that's what happens. You get a bookkeeper that cleans you out, and you're done.
No, but I'm talking about just like even the way he spoke, like it just was.
I agree.
It was just like it was too
like it was
very hard. Yeah, it was very hard to watch Rocky V and accept. Like
it was too forced. He was too. He was overdoing it. You know,
you're worse than you were in Rocky 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Chasing the chickens. You know, it's like
he got his brain put into mush by Ivan Drago. I mean, what do you want? The guy destroyed him.
I read that he wanted to kill Rocky off after 3.
Yeah, he wanted to be done with it.
Like Rocky would win and then keel over and just hear them shit, and then that would be it.
But then something happened that made him do 4.
They got together and went bowling.
Yeah.
Characters that characters that don't want to be in films anymore. It's like Han Solo, like an actor. When does an actor say, "Yeah, kill my character. I don't want to do this anymore"?
Well, he's still doing it, right? He's what is he? 76.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Stallone?
I just saw the new one he's in.
Samaritan. The Samaritan.
I have to say, I didn't hate it. I liked it.
Okay, I'm not sure what that means.
I liked it. No, I liked it. I thought I don't know if I'm going to buy it. I thought it worked. I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, no, he's still vital. He's still got a lot to offer. Yeah. And like I said, he's got great ideas. And he went out on a limb. He really hustled and kind of used leverage when he wrote Rocky.
Good for him.
I got to be in it. You can get. He wanted to direct that, and they said no. He goes, well, I have to be in. I have to be the lead. If you want the screenplay, I have to be the lead.
Good for him.
Really gutsy move from a veritable nobody.
And again, if you challenge what we're saying about Stallone, watch. He didn't direct it, but watch him in Copland. He's a very good. He's a very good actor,
and he doesn't talk like that. He talks regular.
Yeah, right. And you can see more of the man. Yeah, you can see more of the man.
A much different character.
Vulnerable.
But he does play us like a slow-witted guy, though. Isn't he kind of like
slow-witted, just kind of
more wholesome,
not in a rush to do anything. He's just kind of.
But he's more. Yeah, he's more
small town sheriff, and just kind of kind of like whatever things just happen, but not. Not debilitated, just not in a rush to go anywhere, not in a rush to do anything, just happy with what he's doing.
He's partially deaf, so he's
deaf. He's deaf, so he couldn't.
Yeah, but I don't mean
get picked for the force, right?
Yeah,
wasn't he being held back?
Yeah, he was being. Yeah,
Dear.
But that's a great movie, by the way.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's kind of cast.
I'm sure we will. I'm waiting for that one to Mangold do it. Dean to make the announcement.
Wait, isn't Mangold doing the new Raiders?
He did Indiana Jones 5. Yeah, it's all done. Supposedly very good. But let's refocus here. Let's close out.
Yep.
As we do with favorite scenes. We'll see if there's going to be any overlap. It's interesting. Will it be dialogue stuff or will it be fight stuff? Jerry, you start us off.
Do we have anything to say about the soundtracks? Possibly
the Eye of the Tiger
soundtracks ever.
I had the 45. I had the 45. And I love that song.
I mean, all of them. How can you not be inspired by any of that stuff?
Oh, Bill
Do you know
Conti's
what song
music.
he tried to get? And I think he had to settle on Eye of the Tiger was Queen.
I know.
Another one bites the dust, right? Yeah.
No, really?
And
the couldn't get the rights.
The
Karate Kid song, The Best Around. That was
really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oddly enough, that Karate Kid was directed by John Avildsen, who directed Rocky.
Yeah.
So he got it first. He kind of grabbed it from him.
And he directed 5 as well.
Yeah.
But Jerry, classic 80s songs, great soundtracks. And you can't listen to the songs without associating them with the movies.
Yeah.
That's like Top Gun. That's what Top Gun is.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I hear that, like something happens, you're like, whoa, is Rocky on?
I think the only soundtrack I didn't
it's like
care
a fanfare.
for.
He has his own like fanfare, kind of opening fanfare.
The one I didn't care for was 4. I hated the electronic music that he decided. It was I
didn't like the when they were
decidedly more appropriate, I guess, for what, because it was high tech.
You like the James Brown?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the score. Like he was the guy that scored, funnily enough, the Transformers movie scored Rocky 4. He was like Vince DiCola, I think is his name.
Yeah. You got the touch.
Yeah, and it was like this sort of electronic score. And I guess it's appropriate for
that time.
For him using the high tech equipment.
Yeah, what was that? 80? That was 85, right? Rocky
85.
Yeah, 85, 86, something like that. Yeah,
that was of it. That was of its time. So yeah, you can't fault it for that.
he redeemed himself on the soundtrack by putting Alvin and the Chipmunks on.
There you go.
That's right. Yeah.
Foley singing Christmas songs with Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Can't go wrong with that. In Russia.
In
They should have had
in a log
Alvin and the
cabin in the
Chipmunks
middle of
singing in
nowhere.
Russian. They should have had him doing the song in Russian.
And I like Stallone with the beard. You never really see Stallone with a beard.
Nighthawks.
Rocky.
He had a beard in Nighthawks.
Nighthawks was a great film too. Rucker Hauer. Yeah.
He did some good stuff. He just, and we had talked on our Beverly Hills Cop episode that Stallone was considered for the role of Axel Foley, and he took that story and made it into Cobra.
Marion Cobretti.
Marion Cobretti character was originally in Beverly Hills Cop, and they couldn't make it work, and then Stallone just took that and made basically his own version of it, which was Cobra.
Well, another one of those lines.
Classic.
I'm going to blow up this whole supermarket, and he says, "Go ahead, I don't shop here." not quite Dirty Harry.
Yeah, not quite make my day.
But it's kind of funny.
Paper or plastic.
That's like the opening scene.
Well, how about the arm wrestling one? Right?
Over the top.
Oh, Over the Top was great. That was with Logia, right?
Yeah, man.
With the right speed.
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of like this diesel truck.
Once you turn your hat around, then you're ready to arm wrestle.
He drinks the other guy drinks a quart of Quaker State oil before the whatever Valvoline or whatever he drinks.
And then there was the prison one, like Dean I talked about with the Ides of March song. That appeared, and when he was building the
was that Lockup?
Lockdown or Lockup? Yeah,
Lockup.
With Demolition Man, he did a lot of great work. Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger is great.
Cliffhanger
is great.
Opening scene, I was like,
what the hell?
That was something. Yeah.
That's not how you open a movie.
He's had a great career.
Awesome.
He's had everyone for every Rocky. He's had a stopper. My mom will shoot. I mean, everybody's got Oscar. Oscar. I mean, as he got on in his career, he became a little more selective. And kind of. One of my favorites was The Specialist with Sharon Stone.
That was good. Yeah, was James Woods in that too?
Eric Roberts and Rod Steiger. Oh,
Eric Roberts, the other guy who could play a scumbag like no one else.
I like Assassins too with Antonio Banderas.
That was good. I like that one. That was good.
Yeah, so he's done some good stuff. Again, he's going to always forever be known as Rocky and Rambo.
Yeah, Rocky's going to overshadow everything.
Those are his franchises. That's like the stuff he can return to like a warm blanket. But let's close out Rocky 3, and like I tried to earlier, Jerry.
Sorry.
Oh, what scene really stands out for you?
My favorite scene is the whole Thunder Lips.
Yeah.
Leaning more towards the front when they're having the banter. That's where the dinosaur line comes out. Yeah. It's where the 202 pounds. Like Mickey is just throwing all the great lines out.
Yeah, he's having a good time.
Clicking on that.
And then just the way the fight just becomes pure mayhem. Like they really were trying to say, this is what wrestling's like. We're throwing people. He's throwing cops in the stands, and it was just so like Mickey at first is like, we got to get out of here, and then when Rocky's like, cut my gloves off, and goes back, and I was laughing and just so much pure entertainment going on in that, and mostly because of Mickey. I loved his line, like, why are they carrying him? He's not. He's walking. That to me, I fell in love with Mickey.
That was a big laugh in the theater. That was
it's great stuff there. Christy, what do you got?
Well, I mean, I already said the montage that Sean and I would, it was Sean or Jerry, but talking about. I like the montage when they're training and like everything's starting to click and work, and the last fight scene with Clubber Lang, I like it. Mm-hmm. I just. You know what's gonna, if you've seen the movie, you know what's gonna happen. You're still rooting for him. You're still watching him get this beating. It's well choreographed. It just shows you the true character of Rocky Balboa, of this guy who's willing to put it all on the line. He's gonna take the beating and he's gonna take the chance, and it's a nice thing to see, especially in the movie as he struggles to get there. So I that last fighting scene is I really
and it's still exciting. It's still every time you watch it.
Yeah, every time. It doesn't matter how many times you've seen the movie. You're still like, oh my god, you're not going to the bathroom during that scene. No, you're just not.
Hold it.
And Mr. T looks really good when he gets hit in the head. Well, his head
knocks back.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, it's just like
Dean
said before.
Shuffles from side to side.
Like Dean said before, it was very well choreographed, the fight scenes, really.
Yeah. Good stuff. Eric, what do you got?
The scene with Apollo when he comes to the gym and he tells him, he's like, why'd you come here? And he's like, he's trying to convince him to that, all of that stuff. And then of course, I agree with Christy. The fight scene is most especially probably the last 10 seconds of it when it's synced to the music.
Yeah.
When it goes,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's spot on. It's not spot on because they use the same music in the second movie, and it's kind of off. But here he used it to the editing in that scene.
Matched it up the way it should have been.
Right. Yeah.
For dramatic effect. Sean?
That's right.
I of course you love fight scenes, and I was feeling those in my body the other day. I'm literally like, exactly, what happens, and you're going this, and you're like, is he gonna win? Is he gonna? My favorite scenes now, I think, as an adult and somebody who's watched this movie, I love the Apollo stuff and him. I think Apollo's character really took on another level, another dimension. And I just like the words he says to Rocky, like just the wisdom he imparts. He's just a man. He's in the corner. I enjoy the banter when Apollo decides he's going to be in Rocky's corner. Every scene, now I'm like on every scene. I love it. And Apollo's probably my favorite Rocky character. And I was very sad when he died. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it.
He thought Drago was going to be a piece of cake.
Yeah.
You owe me a favor. What favor?
And I think they revealed that Apollo gets the better of Rocky in that last scene.
Yeah. In Creed, it says that he won that fight.
Okay.
Yeah, he won the fight.
But did Rocky wash the trunks and give them back to Apollo?
Probably not. I don't think so. Took him off his body and wore him again. Anyway.
Dean, your favorite scene?
My favorite scene, oddly enough, I don't know if it's a favorite scene, but it's a scene I'm not sure why it's in the film. And it's the opening scene with Paulie.
Yeah.
It's just a very intriguing scene where the film opens with him.
Right.
It's very gritty. Yeah. It almost calls back to the original Rocky. He's in this gritty bar and he's drinking and he's watching. And then, you see all the different, when he goes into the arcade, you see all the different emotions. He's like smiling and growling. That's weird. Kind of the emotions I had in the arcade during 82, but I wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
But I had those same kind of emotions, like smiling one minute and then angry the next because I ran out of quarters.
Yeah.
But it didn't break any of the machines. But it was just a very strange setup.
Yes.
That kind of didn't get resolved. All this was because he wanted a job. It was just a weird, kind of a very strange setup. And then the movie just kind of pivots away from that.
Yeah.
In a weird way. So but it's always an intriguing beginning to the film, especially with Paulie as like the first thing you see really after the montage and after the end. And it's kind of like, okay, where are we going? It looks like it's going back to a grittiness, but then it kind of gets all clean, quote unquote clean again. Like after, once that part ends, he says, "Yeah, I'll give you a job." It's like, okay. Final question. Let's go around the table. Sylvester Stallone impression, grade from A to A. Christy, is the grade in my impression is it an A yours? Or is it an A? Yeah,
an A.
Is it an A or an A? Is it an A or an A? You got to choose two grades. You have a choice.
Can we hear it again?
An A or an A plus?
Can we get?
Can I hear the choices again?
What line? What choice? A or A plus? Those are the two. No,
what line are you going to do so that we can?
No, whichever. Throughout the episode, I've been doing Stallone throughout. So what is the grade? What is the final grade?
You've been doing that. That's what that was.
Oh yeah. No, that was my Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were having mini strokes. I didn't know.
I was, and that's his
imitation of Rocky.
I think we should do a Clubber Lang impression, and then we'll.
I wasn't ready for that. I've been practicing
this
all week.
Was written by Sylvester Stallone. That's his tagline. That's the first time it's ever said.
Yeah.
I pity the fool.
Paper champion. You're a paper champion.
Okay.
See, so that's your Clubber. That's your Clubber impression. Eric, do you have an impression of one of the characters since we're going around? You can give us. You can give us a Mickey. Give us a Mickey.
No, give us Adrian. I want to hear Eric.
No, give us a
I think
Mickey.
you do a good Mickey.
Adrian?
I think Eric's got a Mickey in him. I do.
Give us a Mickey.
Okay. He'll knock it tomorrow. Hey! I love that.
He's a wrecking machine.
Just rolls that R.
Sean, what do you got?
I get, there is no tomorrow.
All right. There it is. Apollo. Jerry?
Oh, who's left?
Whoever you
Adrian,
want.
you have Adrian. Take you back.
Jerry, you just had it. You just reminded me. Can we talk about Rocky crying? Jerry, do it. You just did it.
Oh, yeah.
When Rocky cries?
Oh.
Was
it
Why?
We got so much to
do. What about Clubber Lang winning the title?
Yeah, that was when I watched it, his body motion of sobbing doesn't match with the sobbing.
There's a lot of things in this film that do not match up.
Yeah,
when Clubber Lang wins the title and he's like, I'm like, what is that?
Taking a dump in his pants.
That's the best they can come up with.
He's angry.
I was not.
All right, well, you know what? We got an impression out of everybody. I'm going to say, well done, everybody. Thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone and doing some impressions. I wasn't the only one out on this one. But that's going to do it for this episode of the 3324 podcast. We had a lot of fun talking about Rocky the Third in its apparently ongoing sequel-itis of films, and we'll see if there's more to come, or a prequel, as it were.
I'll be there. I'm there.
Yeah. I think it's a beloved character.
Yes.
So, as long as he keeps doing it, I think people will be there and people will buy it. As long as he keeps writing them too. Anyway, that's going to do it. Christy, thank you so much for joining us. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us. And most especially Sean for selecting.
Thank you for
Rocky 3.
Selecting it.
He's gonna dig into his attic. He's gonna find those action figures, and he's gonna simulate. He's gonna recreate.
You don't have a belt?
These boxing bouts on YouTube.
I don't know if I still have the belts, but they did come with a belt. It was pretty lame, but it came with it.
All right. Come on, Creed. Anyway, and Eric, as always,
yes,
here, and we're here weekly, and that's WEEKLY, not WEAKLY.
Never.
We will see you.
With a laugh and a giggle, we'll say goodnight.
Why not? You know what? It's that kind of episode. We had a lot of fun. Yep. We hope you did as well. So check us out each week for new episodes of the music and movies that inspired and touched our lives. So for Eric, for Christy, for Jerry, and for Sean, this has been Dean asking you to please be kind and rewind.